But I want to bring on Dr. James Hurley, President, Chief Executive Officer of Tarleton State University, part of the NCAA Division I Western Athletic Conference. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thanks for being on the show. I was taking a look at this. I think it's called the Hetchinger Report. Is that the correct way to pronounce it? Do you know?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how they're pronouncing it to me.
Okay. So this created a financial fitness tracker that put the nation's colleges, public institutions, four-year nonprofit colleges, universities, kind of through a financial stress test. They examined some metrics like enrollment, tuition revenue, public funding, endowment health. And they came back with basically saying a crisis is looming for colleges, and not just because of the pandemic. What did they find? What do they mean by that?
Yeah, so I think the crisis has been a series of crises for many years, and part of it is I think threefold. First and foremost, we have seen fewer high school graduates across the country. In certain parts of the country, we've seen a significant decrease in population. And the area in which I'm from, I'm a native of Central Appalachian. We've seen a sharp decrease in population and enrollment there. Secondly, I think the amount of public funding across the country has decreased or diminished greatly. Here in Texas, we're blessed. Our state's economy is very robust and healthy, and so we've not seen a decrease. In fact, we've seen investment on the other end, and where we've actually had more investment. But that's not the case for every state. And thirdly, we have a very strong economy, and when the economy is really, really good, college enrollments are typically down because students don't feel like they need, those additional credentials or degrees to seek a job, and in most cases, they're right. So it's been a perfect storm, and now you have COVID-19, the pandemic that has really set some institutions back that can't afford the technology infrastructure that's needed to really survive in this environment.
So unless you're an Ivy League school with billions of dollars in the bank, what we're seeing here is we've got schools in trouble. I mean, some experts are predicting that 20 to 25% of colleges are going to go bankrupt. So the big question here is this the end of college as we know it?
No, and here, if you read the Christensen report out of Harvard that came out, gosh, don't hold me to this, but let's call it 7 to 10 years ago, he predicted the same thing then, and in fact, it's not happened, right? I mean, we've seen more for-profit institutions close than nonprofit and publics. So I still think that I think what we're going to see moving forward are more mergers. You're going to see more smaller private institutions probably become part of comprehensive regionals or R1s. Like Tarleton, for example, we're around 14,000, a very solid mid-sized institution with incredible financing because we're blessed to be in the A&M system. Not every public institution has the value and the value proposition that we have, and so you may see some of those mid-sized institutions become, part of R1 institutions. And so I think you're going to see a tremendous amount of merger. I think you'll see fewer closures than what's predicted. We've already seen that. But I do, unfortunately, think we're going to have less opportunity and less access for students, and that's a bad thing.
You mentioned students on decline. I think more students are graduating high school going to two-year institutions or trade schools. Also, too, when it comes to money, I mean, the salaries, the salaries of a lot of these professors in some of your bigger schools, the salaries being paid to coaches are astronomical. And you've also got a lot of schools out there, Doctor, raising tuition just because they feel like it raises maybe their level of prestige. You know how it is. I mean, the American public thinks that if you pay more for a car, it means the car's better, or you pay more for anything. And the same thing with institutions. I mean, so COVID has had an impact. But also, too, spending's been out of control for quite some time as far as the price of college, is it not?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what we have to do as educational leaders, we have to, I mentioned value proposition early, we have to really think about the cost and the burden that we're surmounting on students with debt when they leave our institutions. And the last number I've seen is something around $1.3 trillion of national student debt. And we just can't sustain that. That's an unsustainable model. And so here at Tarleton, we've made a real focus and a real push We invested more institutional scholarship dollars into our freshman class than the history of our institution. And our goal is to become one of the 5 most affordable public institutions in Texas. We all need to have that same mindset, and we have to figure out a way to reduce cost, enhance opportunity, and give our students a fair chance at succeeding economically post-graduate, whatever degree they graduate with.
All right, Doctor, thanks for coming on, explaining things to us.
Thanks. Have a great day.
All right, that's Dr. James Hurley, President, Chief Executive Officer, Tarleton State University.